Hi. One of the things that crops up a lot in the gallery, and especially on photography workshops that I run, is paper, the subject of paper. People ask me what sort of papers do I use, what sort of papers should they be using, what difference a paper can make to the finished print, and the way that that print perhaps feels or looks. So what I thought I'd do is put together a short series of videos where we look at a print, and I'll have a quick chat with you about the print, why I made it, how I made it, why I like it, and then we're going to look at the paper that I chose to actually get that image down on, and I'm going to try and explain why I chose that type of paper. Now, before we go any further, I'd just like to say one thing about sort of the things that happen when we head out for a photo shoot. And one of the things I'd like to say is, whatever you think the conditions are at the time, just stick with it. So the image that we've just seen, which I'm going to explain in a few moments, that particular morning didn't look promising. It was quite grey and a little bit sort of misty hazy, but it turned out that it was that misty haze with the sun coming up through a thin veil of the haze that gave it this warmth and this colour. So everything worked out really well, but it was possible that we could have looked out the door and thought, do you know what, today it's not going to happen. So the most important piece of advice regarding going on a photo shoot is to actually go, stick with your plan. I mean, obviously if you've got a location where you've got a couple of options, that's even better, because you might have a view overlooking a cliff and a stream falling down the side of the cliff, so you might have an option in case things work out one way or the other. But even if you've got one option, you might decide to go to the coast to shoot a sunrise. Just go, because there's lots of things we can do in lots of different light, and the light often turns up and helps you in a way that maybe you weren't expecting. Okay, so this is today's image. This is an image that was made in Venice, on one of the rare mornings that I'm there on my own. Normally I'm there with people, so I don't get a lot of time to work on things I want to work on, but this day I managed to work on this scene. I wanted a shot showing some of the gondolas and the island of San Giorgio Maggiore in the background, and this is what I was getting at with the conditions. You can see that there's this lovely warmth to it from the haze that was there, and the sun coming up just off to the left has really created a really warm glow to this image. So there's an overall feel of sort of tranquility, there's a softness to it and a lovely colour. And if you look at the picture, the thing that I like about it is the way the composition worked on this day. So landscape photographers, we work with what's there. We can't change things. If we've got a tarmac street, it's a tarmac street. So it's particularly nice when we find something that's put together and in front of us that we can work with and create a nice composition. So if you look at this image, we've got this main gondola here that's leading you up past the centre of the image up to the church in the distance over at San Giorgio. But also you've got this thing, this jetty that brings you back across the same gondola and takes you out of the picture up on this side, past this little pole over to the light tower over in the left. So the image has got a really good balance. There's a journey that the eye can go on, and just as the eye starts to come up this side, it's brought back this way. So it's one of the pictures I like because for me it ticks a lot of boxes. Like I say, we can't always change where things are, but we can try and see how we can work with things that are there to make a balanced composition. So this is the image, and now we're going to have a look at the paper itself. Okay, so that's a bit about the image that we've chosen for today and sort of the thought process that went into making that image. So now we're going to look at the paper. Today we're going to look at this paper. I use the Canson Infinity range of papers. I've tried so many papers over the past 15 years. Paper choice is kind of personal. Papers have a different feel, a different look. They will appeal to people differently. But the main thing that I look for in every paper that I use is exceptional level of detail, an exceptional colour range, and a very high Dmax, which means I can get blacks. If I've got some blacks, I want them to show as black, not washed out greys. The Canson range, from the very humble satin resin coated paper that they do right up to these fine art papers, they're all stunning. And literally, I'm choosing a paper that has a certain type of finish that suits an image without worrying about the quality of that print. So there's no compromise. So today we're going to look at the Rag Photographique. Okay, So why did I choose this paper? I chose this paper because it's matte. When I make an image like this, one of the things that appeals to me about it is this overall feeling of tranquility, of serenity. There's a smoothness to it all. There's nothing really shouting, it's very calm. And I feel that a matte paper works perfect with those kind of pictures. Now, if you imagine a glossy paper, maybe one of the modern burritas, Canson have got some fantastic burrito papers, and I will be showing you those as well. I love both. But a burrito paper, in these areas here that are smooth, there are speckles on the paper. And the speckles kind of reflect the light a little bit, so you can get things going into a smooth area that you don't really want. So a really smooth matte paper can have benefits in allowing you to portray a smoothness within the image. Also, a secondary benefit with matte papers is that you get no reflections. So I've got lots of lights on in this gallery, and I don't know if you can see, I'm wiggling this around, there are no reflections. If this was a burrito paper, you'd be picking up some shine. So when I make the burrito little videos, it's going to be interesting, because I'm sat here on my own and I don't really know what I'm doing. I've got a DJI Osmo and giving it a go. So back to the image. This paper's got a beautiful feel, it's heavy. When I mount it and hang it in frames, I never have any problems. I've been using this paper for about 6 or 7 years. It really is a classy paper. And there are quite a few of my images, whether they're black and white, long exposures, colour dawns, smooth images like this. This is my go-to paper for that kind of image. When I want to convey that mood of, well, calmness really, then this is the paper that I'll use. Okay, so there you have it. The first in our series, matte printing with Canson Rag Photographique 310. Just a word, it does come in 2 weights. There's this version, which is 310 gram, which is really nice. As I say, there's a weight to it that means it will hang beautifully in a mount. And for framing, there's also a 210 gram version, which I use now and again for proofing, but also for printing. You know, maybe if it's prints, for example, that somebody wanted to do for a competition, and they wanted to have this, all the characteristics that I've explained that are within this paper and what they offer, then they could save a little bit of money, go for the 210 gram and like an everyday paper, but without really compromising on the aesthetics and what it is they're trying to say with their photography. But I use the heavyweights, and they are beautiful. So next time we'll look at one of the burrito papers, but for now, thank you very much.